afternoon across a good part of the area. If you're up north of Peach Grove, give me some streets in here, Valerie, because it's a little hard to see. But from Kenton down towards Morning View, there's likely a tornado right on top of you at this moment. Here's U.S. Highway 27. If you live just to the west of U.S. Highway 27 in Campbell County, you're likely to be impacted by a large tornado here in the next couple of minutes. So you need to be moving. If you haven't already, you should already be in your safe place. Again, these storms are racing 60 to 70 miles an hour, meaning that they'll be on top of you in short fashion. Look at this again. If you make out here, Valerie, you almost can still see a little bit of a ball on the end of this particular tornadic storm here.
Yeah, let me put another track on here just to give you everybody an idea of how fast this is moving and where it's going to be impacting places. I do actually have to update this because it's moving faster than I can put it on the radar. So here we go. That's your update. Looks like Grants Lick. In just a minute or two, it's going to be on top of you. Peach Grove in about 3 to 4 minutes. Flag Spring in about 5 to 6 minutes, and Carntown in about 5 to 6 minutes as well. This is the cell that has been confirmed as an actual tornado on the ground, very large and expansive tornado at that. So we really have to kind of heed this warning as it moves up to the east and northeast. It's heading toward Peach Grove and the Moscow area. It looks like it will eventually even be crossing over the Ohio River, probably into southern Claremont, maybe even Brown County. But right now, this warning includes Grant, Pendleton, and southern Kenton and Campbell County. Let me pan out here and just kind of give you a better perspective of what's going on and take off the warnings here. Giving you an idea, for those of you in Harrison that did have that tornado warning, that has now moved out. That has been allowed to expire, and the cell with that is now even east of Interstate 75 up into Butler and Warren County. So that's moving eastward. It is not considered tornadic, and it is not considered severe. So keep that in mind. The severe weather right now are those 2 tornado warnings. We only have 2 at this point, right along Interstate 75 down here around Grant County and Kenton County, moving towards Campbell and Pendleton. Both of these do have some rotation with them. Let me put on our velocity.
And it's probably fair to say, too, Valerie, go ahead and give our viewers in southern parts of Claremont County a heads up, since we know we are tracking a tornado here, and we know that we're tracking a storm that has at least had debris with it, and evident of at least some structural damage from this storm. I think we had reports of damage back into southeast Indiana with this storm as well. So here we are. I like this view for a moment because we're tracking. Here's your first tornado very close to Butler. So I say heads up. If you live over to the east of the Ohio River, Felicity, or if you're to the south of Bethel, keep in mind, you do have a tornadic storm moving in your direction at 60 to 70 miles an hour.
I think it's pretty safe to say, too, to give those people a warning. You know, you don't have that tornado warning right now confirmed on top of you, but go ahead and get to the basement, because this has been very consistent for an entire state and a half now at this point.
We're talking, what, 4 hours now?
Yes.
At least 4 hours.
So it'll likely be moving into Claremont, Brown County.
So heads up for those of you in southern Claremont and Brown County as this storm continues to move in your direction. And I'm also tracking down here around Dry Ridge and Williamstown, again, another possible tornadic storm. This storm, again, has done some damage. We did have a few reports of some damage back in Owen County, I saw from some spotters, as this storm moved through northern parts of Owen County. So again, we're tracking storms that have confirmed histories of tornadoes, confirmed history of damage as well. And right now, we're also talking about storm which is producing at least tennis ball size hail, could be as large as baseballs, over towards Mount Zion at this particular time. So even though you may not be seeing a tornado, hey, Valerie, why don't you put on our severe weather button?
Okay, actually, I was going to do future scan. You want to do that first?
Yeah, let's do future scan. We'll future scan this out. So why don't you expand the view just a little bit here as we go out an hour, because these storms are moving so quickly this afternoon. We're probably going to need a larger view. So here's Claremont County. Here's Brown County. There's the city of Georgetown. There's Batavia. This storm will pass to the south of Batavia, but Felicity is right about here. Bethel is right about here. Here's our first storm. Check this out. Again, you can see it maintains its hook. Very impressive on the radar as it continues to move off towards the east. This is predicting the storm out now 20 minutes and then 30 minutes. So in half an hour, this storm will move from Campbell County clear across Claremont County and into northern parts of Brown County. To the south of that is another tornadic storm, the one that's currently near Dry Ridge and Falmouth, that will move very close to those of you around Felicity. and then eventually over towards Georgetown within the next hour. So here are our two tornadic storms once again. If you're over around Bethel right now, you're getting in on some rain and some wind, but the tornado is still back in northern Kentucky at this point. Same story down around Dry Ridge and Williamstown. If you're over towards Falmouth, you're now under a tornado warning. Lennoxburg under a tornado warning. Butler also under a tornado warning. We have multiple threats from these storms as they move through. Check this out. To the west of Dry Ridge right now, again, even if there's no tornado, we're talking about 100-mile-an-hour winds, which is equivalent to a strong tornado, or at least a EF1, EF2 there. In addition, up near the Pioneer area, in southern parts of Campbell County, moving to the south of between Alexandria and Butler, very close to Kenton. Check that out, Valerie. Why don't you put on our wind shear there and see what we're talking about? 80-mile-an-hour wind shear, 115. These are very impressive values in terms of when you're talking about tornadic winds. And we're talking about shear. Basically, we're talking about 70-mile-an-hour shear. That means we have winds moving 40 miles an hour in this direction, 40 miles an hour side by side, or in other words, rotation with this particular storm. And we're talking about 104 miles an hour of rotation. That's even stronger rotation across parts of Grant County here near Williamstown and over towards Dry Ridge. So
yeah, it's crazy to think about that. If you really think about just even a tree, one direction of winds going 60, 70 miles per hour, and then you go a little higher in the atmosphere, it kind of changes directions, and it's going up to 100 miles per hour. So it really plays with the atmosphere, plays with the surface. No wonder we're seeing those debris fields up even in Hamilton County, just about another 50 miles north of these storms.
I think that was probably one of the more amazing stories already out of today, is the fact that we have debris falling from the air. I mean, that only happens in your most significant and at times your most violent of storms. That's not an everyday occurrence. And to be honest with you, days like this only come a handful, fortunately, throughout the year. We're talking 3 or 4 times a year you get this type of severe weather outbreak across the U.S. So we're one down already, I guess, if you can say. But this one's still ongoing right now across parts of Campbell County at this time. Likely to have a tornado there. Also likely to have a tornado here across parts of Grant County. I'll be interested to hear the damage reports are coming in a little slow. So that's good news. That is some good news that we're not getting lots of reports of damage. It'll be interesting to see. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Sometimes it's good in the sense that there's nothing happening. And then sometimes it's bad in the sense that, well, that means simply put that emergency officials are that busy, they don't have time to send out the reports of damage. But if you're out there and you can safely do it and you see anything, let us know what's going on here inside Channel 5 in terms of what you're actually seeing on the ground.
Check out this BTI. For this area, when we see a 7 on the scale, that's really about as high as we typically see it. Once we start to see a 4 or 5, we can say, you know what, that gives us enough confidence that there's a tornado. Once it gets up to 7, 8, that's when you're saying that this is not only a tornado on the ground, but a very strong tornado on the ground. And it looks like they took away that warning. I'm wondering if that's just kind of, that has to be just something, a glitch with our radar, because there's a tornado with that one, and that's the one that we've seen all those pictures with.
And very easily put, they could be reissuing that warning. I don't think at this point, like you say, Val, they are dropping any tornado warnings at this point with these storms. I think rotation is such, and with the debris falling out of the air, I think it's more than a certainty you're dealing with a tornado. But this is the BTI of 7.1 that Valerie was talking about, again, which is just indicative of a very strong storm with the likelihood producing a tornado now moving. This is going to move. If we could go back to the regular radar here just quickly and see what's happening. I think this storm is going to scoot across northern parts of Pendleton County. Yes, there it is. Going to scoot from around the Dry Ridge, Mount Zion communities right across northern Pendleton County. If you're over towards Butler, a little bit of good news. It looks like the most dangerous part of the storm will remain just north, just barely north of the city of Falmouth. Shears once again. There it is, and you follow this arrow between Butler and Falmouth. That's where one possible tornado could